Hey, it's Floyd, Director of Marketing at Sparkrock, and I am here with our Senior Director of Customer Success, Frank, and with Chad from Livingstone Range School Division. And Chad and Frank are going to chat about what it was like adopting Sparkrock at LRSD and what it has been like being a customer of Sparkrock for the past few years.
Great, yes. So Chad, it's a pleasure to have you here today. Hopefully to kick things off, maybe you could tell us a little bit of background about your role within the district.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Chad Kuzyk, Livingstone Range School Division. I'm the Associate Superintendent here. That is going to be retiring tomorrow. So this is one of the things. I've been at Livingstone Range for about 15 years, and I've worked through many awesome and amazing, innovative programming for students over the years that I'm super proud of. So yeah, that's kind of a little bit about me.
Well, one thing I'd like to know is what made you pursue a career in education, and how has your journey shaped your approach to supporting students with unique needs?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's some sense that there's a calling. I think we all know that when you're younger and working through the workforce in some way or another, that you have that feeling of comfort around working with students and working in schools in that manner. And so I was fortunate enough to be on a high school baseball team as you were as the coach for 5 years, and it was basically my old teacher, which was my coach as well when I grew up, said, "You are a teacher and you should pursue this." And I realized, like, I think you're right. And then it began. So that's kind of how this, I think, it started, looking at the ways that you work with people, really. And then if you look behind me, you'll see some beauty back there. You're going to see some amazing opportunities that we leverage with our play space and environmental sciences and being outside, and that allowed me to join those two forces of loving working with students, loving working with people, and then the outdoors and enjoying those sort of pieces, and allowed me to kind of do some of the things I've done here at Livingstone Range. So that's what kind of fueled my energy to do those sorts of things. So yeah, for sure.
Oh, that's great. Tell us a little bit about your student population and what are some of the key programs and services you offer to support those students?
Yeah, and I think it's good to know the kind of whole piece of where I also came from, and being a party talking about our student population, what we're doing here. So I started my career in Calgary, Okotoks, kind of a urban, what we call a situation where you had approximately 11, 12,000 students. Went to Peel District School Board in Ontario for the bulk of my career, and where we had large number, over 100,000 students, and different challenges and different issues and different ways to work through things, different solutions. And I landed here in Livingstone Range, where we're under 4,000 students, very spread out, hundreds of kilometers apart, some of our communities, and yeah, looking at ways in one sense, I came from a division that had many students in one place, in one school, and trying to do the very best with very large class sizes to a population and a need for more students, if you will. We had declining enrollment, these schools that are underutilized, or I wouldn't say underutilized, but had openings and spaces to be able to grow. And so it was very different for sure, moving from one to the other. But right there, that's what brought looking at some of the solutions and ways to solve some of these problems inside Livingston Range, using that opportunity to do that here, right? And trying to look at ways to grow versus trying to be more efficient. That's the way.
So in talking about those solutions, can you walk us through the technology and the systems that your district uses, and how did you come to implement the Sparkrock solution, and what were the primary goals for doing it?
Yeah, and so we were looking for almost a center, a hub to be able to run all our software through. We need to be more, and when I say effective and efficient with the dollars that we have, there's less opportunity to have big systems and big many people, big departments to run these things. And in a lot of ways, we need to be leaner in the ways that we can support student learning and the logistics of the school and the operation of the school in a way, using software that would allow us to be more timely, and like I said, more effective, more efficient. How are we going to do that? And we were looking always for this, the last 15 years, really a hub to be able to run everything out of. I use the word automation, which is not correct. I know that my tech team always says, "Chad, that's not correct." But the idea of it is in that you have one place where you're putting information, which will then allow you to direct it to other other technologies and other pieces of information provided that that's secure and holding that security in place. We don't have a team that's able to say at every school they have their own little hub of software. We need it to all come from stemming from one center of truth, I call it, that we can control some of the security pieces and protect student data, but yet be effective enough to balance some of those things that allow students and schools to be innovative and do really creative things. So in some ways, we needed to be very flexible. We needed to be lean in some ways and make sure that we're able to navigate that realm in a way that we could do with not a crazy amount of people, right? So that was kind of our goals, what we're looking at, to be able to leverage some of the things that are happening in our communities to allow students to learn in a way that was dynamic and enriching to them. And the software sometimes can be barriers to that. The security pieces can be barriers to that. The professional learning piece of it can be barriers to that. We needed something that fit those needs to be able to build the capacity there for them to provide programming for students that was very rich and excellent. Yeah. So
Oh, that's
yeah,
great.
that's kind
That's
of
awesome. And I just listening to what you were kind of saying there, impactful to the students, but how about the staff in that big change? Because changing software like that is sometimes a big challenge with an organization. Were there any initial challenges or surprises you faced, and how'd you overcome those?
Yeah, the answer is yes. There always is, right? Anytime there's change, you're going to have some of those pieces with your staff and students and parents and guardians. I think the key to overcoming some of those challenges is building the culture of innovation, right? That we're always looking at better ways to do things and looking at ways to meet people that may be able to support us and where we're trying to go. So as we've tried many things in the past, we had a system of implementation, looking at like what's the vision of this, what does the learning community need and how it will be adapted with this, what's the commitment to where we need those specific professional learning and how do we deliver it? Is it virtual? Is it in person? It really depends on the context of those things. And then fostering those effective relationships are critical, that whatever software bringing in their team, that we're able to build those relationships that we can call and say, hey, we need a hand with this, or we may be small, but we may not be big, but at least we're small. I'm using a little bit of my CBC content on there, but basically Stuart McLean, in case you didn't know that was Stuart
Yeah,
McLean. But yeah, that's an important theme, and that's the thing. I've got a couple. I've got that on my wall, and Shiny People Holding Hands is the other one, and REM lyric, because that's who we are and that's our culture and that's what we're doing. It starts there, right? It starts there with every student every day is actually our mission statement. Keeping that in mind, you build that culture of being innovative, being trying to be problem solvers, trying to do those things. And like I said, those issues that do come with these pieces, we've been down that road before. But now that we've built this relationship with the folks that are helping with this, as long as we know how professional learning is going to happen and what kind and whereabouts it's going to be, and understanding the vision, the why are we doing this? That's where we started, and that's what we continue to do, and that allowed us to implement some of these things on a big scale, effectively, in my opinion. So yeah.
Well, that's great. Along the way with Sparkrock supporting you in those changes, what specific changes did you experience in your district after adopting the system? Was there a shift with your team and how they worked, and how did the students receive the support after that change?
Yeah, I think this is a real positive. Some of the people didn't see much change, and in some ways they were happy to see that they had an easier way to get data, get their marks, really, to look at the report cards, understand the report cards, understand the marks, understand the communication that was being brought home. As far as the team inside the schools, I think it's a real testimony on how well we did with the implementation, because there wasn't really bumpy. There wasn't a huge change in what they were doing, and that in some ways they were moving from one product to the other, but yet I think they were happy that it was easier to be able to communicate marks. Specifically, easier potentially to do attendance, easier to in some ways to work in the parent portal, and so there was less less distractions, I guess, or less noise surrounding those pieces that allowed them to do it. And they found, I think, in my opinion, based on the surveys that I've done with the staff, that they thought the professional learning on that was adequate, and then they didn't need a lot, right? And so for those pieces, that was great. For our staff that works with the IT side of things and the central office staff, it was a dramatic change, right? Like there was a way in which we were able to do a lot of stuff in the background so that you didn't see any issues with the actual users. And again, Frank, that had a lot to do with you and your team. Like it was allowed us to, you had amazing implementation specialists, the amazing ways that we can pick up the phone anytime to get supports and certain things. And I guess that piece of understanding that we're different, right? We're not the same as was what the school next to, or the division next to us. We do things differently to try to leverage our place-based learning, but leverage our resources and leverage our amazing teachers and innovation and all those things into a software that'll be able to accommodate that. And so being able to pick up the phone and talk to people and to say, this is what our needs are, this is what we're trying to do, can you help us? And if the answer wasn't no, it was like, well, let's see what we can do. Let's see where the yeses or the maybes and the yeah, we can't do that. And that's where the power comes in, and that's a synergy is the word I'd use, that we're all trying to work down the same pathway to be able to support student learning and not have technology be a barrier. And again, you'll hear me say that a bunch in this interview. If the technology is a barrier for us doing amazing programming for students, then we really need to have to think about that and reflect on that, because it really is the people that make this happen, and the software supports that. And again, it's the people that made this happen and the implementation of that, and it made it a successful one. And I've done 3 of these. I've done 3 implementations of SIS systems in our school division and beyond. We have other products now we're using, and this was the best by far, by far.
I appreciate that. Now, if we look at like from a focus point of perspective, like impact on students, you mentioned one of the main focuses was supporting those students with unique needs. Can you share an example how the system helped make that positive impact on student outcomes and how your team better met those student needs?
Yeah, and like it really is, I'll be general per se, in that it impacted any students that needed different ways to record information. It allowed us to do special programmings where the students not maybe in one class or in another class, they're in all the class at different time, different places, but allowing us to have ways in which we can manipulate the way information is recorded inside those spaces, allowed us to be flexible in the programming we offered. And so that would go from students with learning support and different support needs there, to students that are at school once a month kind of thing, or having a ski academy, for example, being able to divvy up our schedules in ways that allowed us to keep records of attendance when they're at the school, when they're at the ski hill, when they're taking a variety of different classes, all in the same class with small enrollment numbers. So the flexibility allows us to problem solve and to create ways to record information in the system that is still able to go to PASI, that's still able to provide the information to those that need it in a timely manner, in an effective manner, and one that's not over a lot of work that goes into trying to create something for 4 kids. It allows, and we would do that, but this allowed us to be basically on the communication and the trying and the piloting and ways that we could create spaces for students to record information for them to be able to do that. Now it's gone on beyond the SIS, Frank. As you know, we have the finance department piece. We have the HRP as well. All these things that we came together to work on together, and they all are integrated together. And a lot of that has to do with the adults that are surrounding the education piece. But then we get into stuff like school day, which is all Sparkrock as well, but you're getting to those pieces that now we're connecting to parents, now we're connecting to students, now we're connecting to the staff, now we have a different communication hub, and that flexibility appears to be in the same philosophy, and allows us to dial down exactly for the needs of those particular students. So that's how we're using it for those students that need something a little different, which is all kids. I would argue it's difficult coming from big division to little divisions to say this one paintbrush, this is good for this, we're going to do it for everyone this way. every student has addition in my opinion, every student that's gone through our division will have different needs at different times and different places. And allowing a software to be flexible and malleable enough to be able to massage it into something that would work for those one-offs is the key. So yeah.
Well, that's really amazing. I really appreciate that background, and achieving those expectations are high, but they seem to have been able to meet your needs and the organization's needs.
Yeah.
As you near retirement, I know tomorrow, what are your biggest takeaways from your career and your experience working with Sparkrock? And what do you hope your team and other educators take from your journey?
Again, it's first, don't be afraid to take risks. We were one of the first in Alberta to be able to do that. Stand pat on your goals and needs and wants, your budget as well, and what resources you have, and security as well. Like you have these goals, you have ideas, and don't be afraid to be able to look at outside the box for solutions. I think that's in one of the things. Based on everything that's happened recently, don't be afraid to buy Canadian. That's another piece that's not so shabby to be able to do, and proud to say we have when we were ahead of that curve. And then, yeah, I think what I've learned is what I knew, I guess, and what I'll reflect on is it's a relationship with the people in which you initially start to work with. You could have a really good salesperson, and you could be all in, and then all of a sudden you could look and how do I get out of this, right? And so, in some ways, the relationship we've had with Sparkrock and Assembly has been that it's almost like a partnership that we needed each other, and symbiotic almost, and that we wanted to be the first in Alberta, but you wanted us to be successful in Alberta. And I think that combination, what I've learned, if you have unified goals in ways that we can work together, you can get success. And I think success is totally be achievable in those spaces. And so what I've learned in this last the last 5 years for sure, but the last 27 years is that it is always and always will be about people, and making sure you take the time and space to be able to have these conversations and really get to the bottom of what we're trying to achieve here. And I think that was the key to everything. Choose good people. So
I appreciate that, and I love hearing your history and your background and where you're taking your advanced studies and research moving forward, which is great. Before we finish up, is there anything else you'd like to share with other educators or leaders about the importance of embracing change and technology to better serve those students?
yeah, it's not going away. And as I take a step and let some other people take the lead on this, this is always going to be a balance, and we're always going to be working through the balance of security and learning, right? And not put up barriers, and to look at the people around you that can support you in this journey. You're not alone, and that collaboration that happens at a school level, division level, provincial level. Being aware of those opportunities, resources there are critical. But as far as the technology innovation, it's going to be ongoing. This is the pace in which we are at, and it's always been there. It's just it's a much faster pace than what we've seen before, and to be able to, you're not going to know everything, but to have trusted people that you do work with, they'll be able to support you with those pieces is the critical piece of it. So yeah, that's one thing I would share going forward.
Wonderful. I appreciate the partnership we've built together and all the things we've accomplished together, and we continue to support Livingstone Range and working through again, like you said, the Alberta community. So very excited about this. I really appreciate your time, Chad, and I wish you all the best on your retirement.
Thank you, Frank. I appreciate it too.
Yeah, thanks, Chad. What an honor anyway to have you join us, and more so that it's your second last day of work ever. I guess my closing question is, what are you going to do on your last day of work ever? And then what are you going to do on your first day of retirement?
My last day I'm going to be with students. It's something that is absolutely going to happen. I'm going to go. We created something called the Peaks Campus here. It's an outdoor environmental education center, and a Peaks Collegiate, where we have kids that run through dual credit, which is credit college/university and the school. And they do these experiential learning pieces of something that came out of Jason Clifton was another amazing person with Livingstone Range, and I hope he pays me for that shout out, but he won't. It's coming out of there as an idea that we thought of together, and now it's happening. I'm going to hang out with the kids as they do some experiments on some native grasses in the Rocky Mountains. So I'm super excited to be with the kids in a program that we did, and I'm proud of the kids and the families that allowed this to happen. And then my first day of retirement, I think we were talking about before, I was gonna get in a van and drive all the way down to PEI because I can't sit still. But my wife has said no, and so I've chosen let's go to the Yukon instead. So, which is about half the distance. So she said maybe on that one. So that would be the plan for sure.
Very exciting. Thanks so much for joining us today, Chad, and happy
Thank you very
retirement.
much.
Thank you.